Ted Spaulding is with us, trial attorney, in studio. Your thoughts when you look at this case overall? Should she be in adult court? Is she in the right spot? All of it. I mean, it's heartbreaking. You see the stepdad on the stand there. You can tell that he is filled with emotion. And it's only been 6 months plus since this happened. This was March of this year.
Yeah, it's a very quick trial for sure. Getting back to that, yeah, I mean, it's why I'm glad I'm not a judge. One of the many reasons. I would hate to have to make that decision on a 14-year-old adult court versus juvenile court. But at the end of the day, here we are. We're in adult court. We have an insanity plea in defense. And so obviously that is a very difficult adult court to prove. You have to have clear and convincing evidence in most courts. I assume Mississippi is under that same evidentiary standard. So at the end of the day, as you heard there at the end of that direct testimony, there's no dispute that she was the shooter, at least with the witnesses, right? So it's a tough case. I mean, I hate it for the defense. It's going to be very, very difficult to prove insanity. Just having a mental condition alone is not necessarily insane. So it's going to be difficult.
A difficult position. This defense seemed like they were confident that they wanted to go forward with trial. They turned down any plea negotiations in this case. So we will see what happens. Ted, stand by. We are going to get in a break, but next we are going to hear the cross-examination of Heath Smiley, and the home security video from the day of the shooting is going to be part of that. Stay with us. All right, we're going to bring in trial attorney Ted Spaulding, who is standing by while we're listening to this really difficult testimony. Difficult for this stepfather to be recounting and hearing the worst day of his life, the day he lost his wife of 3.5 years and simultaneously lost his stepdaughter. Ted, how much do you think the prosecution should take into account how he feels about how this prosecution should go, the sentence, if there's a conviction in the future? Because it sounds like he does not want her to be in this position, as we see oftentimes when there's this children on other people in the home violence.
Yeah, I think it's less taking into consideration how he feels, and it's more walking a fine line in front of the jury. You don't want to beat him up. If he's going to give testimony that's good for the defense, he's got testimony that's good for you as well on the prosecution side, obviously. So you got to walk a fine line. You don't want to beat him up in front of the jury, get the jury upset with you and how you treat this father who is, as you said, he's a pure victim. I mean, it's the worst scenario. You've lost your wife. Your stepdaughter's now on trial. She shot you as well, allegedly. So, you know, it's very difficult. I think the prosecution did a good job from the parts that I could see in walking him through, staying on task with what he saw, what his reactions were, those sorts of things. So I think they ultimately did a good job handling that situation.
All right. Let's get a break and we'll come back. We'll pick up the cross of this pivotal witness. When we return, we'll pick it up right where we left off. Stay with us. All right, still with us, Ted Spaulding. Again, tough case. Is this, normally you wouldn't want a young person on the stand. What about this case?
Yeah, I think ultimately I would say no, don't put her on the stand. What gives me pause is, as a trial attorney, I like the optics of her being 14 years old as a defense attorney, to try to play up the practical of, are you really going to convict this 14-year-old child? But at the end of the day, the defense is really insanity. So you would have to put her up, and is she going to convince a jury that she's insane? So in my opinion, I think you're best off, let the experts do the work, the other witnesses potentially that they'll have as to insanity, leave her off of the witness stand.
Yeah, because there's not really an aspect of the actual shooting where self-defense or something like that, that she can tell her version and people go, oh, well, yeah, I understand. It's just going to make it more complicated. Ted Spaulding, thank you as always.